The picture is.
She was.
I thought she was.
She's muted.
Okay. We'll call the meeting to order, 4 in person, 1 electronically. First thing on the agenda is the public hearing for the vacation of Horn Hollow Road.
I move to open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is now open. We'll take consideration of comments on this. And if everyone could hold it to 3 minutes, that would be great, so we can get everybody's comments. Who wants to go first? For the record, you have to state your name though.
I am Lucy Shim. You're probably tired of me by now. This is just a brief statement. I think Corbin is similar to Corbin's. He explained things quite well. 50 years ago, our family moved to the farm on rural Route 3. The road ended before the machine shed. When 911 directory came about, the residents were allowed to name the road, and our family suggested Horn Hollow Road. The neighbors agreed, and the county approved the name. Horn Hollow Road is not a viable road beyond the grain bin. To call it, was placed on the National Register while we were living there. We cooperated with the Luther women and senior students and to achieve that status. The abandoned road will in no way compromise the Ramseth property, the Voss property, or the Wicca property. The road will be continued to be maintained to the grain bins as previous years. If the proposed walking trail is allowed, the viability of the farm would be devastating. The ability to move stock from pasture to pasture would be compromised, as well as access to cropland and CRP. The increased liability to the landowner, as well as to the county, would be significant. Not vacated, the county will absorb the cost of the liability to benefit the commercial gain of one owner who may not reside in the county. Our family has paid taxes on the entire farm for 50 years. A significant amount. We appreciate the time, the effort, as well as the county engineer, the surveyor, road supervisor, and road crew. We are requesting the board support us in vacating the abandoned road. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy.
Anyone else have any comments?
I'd like to comment if that's permitted. Can you guys hear me? Jim Wicca?
Yes.
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 Right. Thank you. You've heard from me a lot. And I appreciate the effort of all. And I'm just going to keep it very brief. But there are really 2 things that are set forth in this hearing, really 2 things that are part and parcel. But first is, do you vacate? The statute, which talks about vacating, says that you should not do it. You should do it only in the absence of some sort of public benefit. I think there's a public benefit. I think the fact that this road is historic, I think it's worth saving. I'm not going to die on that hill. I know the county has got a lot of obligations, and I would defer to your good judgment on that. So that's issue number one. Are you going to vacate it? That is really your decision. I think if it's an easement, that's a much easier decision. We're now coming to the second part of it, which is the ownership issue. If you own this property, then I think it's a different standard that you should apply it to. I've been beating this drum for about a month and a half on whether you own it, whether it's an easement. The county surveyor originally came up with the opinion, and I've always had the opinion this is an easement. The county attorney looked at it, concluded it was an ownership interest. Then after meeting with the surveyor and understanding potentially the implications, reversed jets on that. Ms. Schemp's lawyer last time talked about litigation, about potentially bringing lawsuits after decisions are made. I think one of the council members brought up the opinion of getting an opinion from the Attorney General. To me, that seems like the ultimate way to go. It might be 6 months, but I personally would be much more comfortable if the Attorney General rendered an opinion and said, this is an easement or this is an ownership interest. It would be a prophylactic, right? Hey, I know there was some confusion on what our interest was, but we've now gone to the Attorney General of the state of Iowa, and this is dispositive on the issue. I just think it's going to bring this to a rest, and it's going to prevent people from second guessing the decision on the part of the county. This issue has not been placed before the Board of Supervisors before. I think it's really incumbent upon you guys to figure out what you own, what you don't own. This could be a pretty significant asset. Doesn't mean you have to sell it. Doesn't mean you have to do this in every set of circumstances. But it seems to me that in this context, when there is interest in preserving this, potentially selling it might be an option. So thank you. If there are questions, I'd be happy to answer it. If not, I'll await your decision with breathless anticipation.
Thank you. Anyone else with any?
Good morning. My name is Corey Lorenzen, and I'm an attorney with the Daniel Law Firm in Cedar Falls. I'm here for Steve Daniels, who I know we've spoken previously with you, but he's on out of the country this week, so he asked me to attend. I'm here to represent Ms. Schemp and her interests. Obviously, she's asking that Horn Hollow Road be vacated. The inquiry here is very simple under the statute, and it's basically, is this land of any public benefit to the county? And there's a lot of things that we could take a look at, but we can look at the use. Ms. Schemp's owned the property for 50 years, and the county's never set foot on it, and nor has anyone outside the county step foot on it. County's looking at putting a turnaround on the county line because nobody goes beyond there. The driveway is being maintained by her and has been maintained by her and used exclusively by her for 50 years. And she knows from the previous owners that it was at least 20 years before that. So for 3/4 of a century, this property has only been used by Ms. Schemp and her predecessors in interest. If that shows you there's no public benefit, I don't know what else can do. There is no public benefit here. Nobody else is using the property. Really, the question here is, do you want to not vacate the property for the personal financial motive of a neighbor, or take a look at what the reality of the situation is, and that is that this property has not been used by the public for 3/4 of a century. There's no public benefit here. If there was public benefit, somebody would be using it. Okay. The other issue is, and this is a threshold question, and I'm going to respond to what Mr. Wicca said. Does the county even have an interest in this property? Okay. Here's the abstract. I reviewed it. There's not one entry in here about Horn Hollow Road in this abstract. Not one. Here's a title opinion that was done by another attorney. Let you guys pass this around. In 2000, doesn't know anything about Horn Hollow Road. We don't have a deed. We don't have an easement. We certainly don't have an easement. Okay, there's no ownership interest. We don't have a plan. Okay, what we have is an entry from the 1800s, a handwritten entry from the everything. Okay, which is so important of a book that it doesn't even show up in the abstract. Okay, which goes back to the root of title in Winneshiek County. Okay, you don't need an AG's opinion to tell you that the county doesn't have an interest in this property. Anybody, any attorney, the county doesn't have an interest in this property. Okay, I understand there's this entry, and I'll let your county attorney give you his opinion on that from that standpoint. But when it's indicated here that you know, my partner, Mr. Daniels, indicates that litigation would ensue, I'm not trying to threaten here, but Ms. Shem has enjoyed this property for 50 years without any interruption from the county. And now all of a sudden she's being told there's an ownership interest when there's nothing in the abstract, there's nothing in title opinions. We got something from the book of everything from the 1800s that shows maybe there's something, maybe. Okay, there isn't, but maybe. All right. So we go back to, you know, are we putting the interest of one neighbor and their financial motives over the public benefit and the public good on this? The public does not use this property. So the only reason for the county to get involved is to basically grant an interest over land for one neighbor who has a commercial motive. That's the long and short of it. And that is not what the county and what the Board of Supervisors is here to do. That is not what your job is here today, in my opinion. Okay. At the end of the day, there's no public benefit. You know, all the things that I've already cited, she's paid the property tax, she paid the insurance, even the county records don't even show that there's a road on this property. Okay. There's no public interest. There's no public benefit. At the end of the day, common sense should prevail and status quo should be maintained. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else with any comments?
I would like to speak.
Can I respond, given that my opinions were characterized?
Very quickly.
Sure. Very quickly, history has value. This is not anything about a financial interest. There's no benefit whatsoever in preserving this for us beyond the history. She paid taxes on this, but she's also rented it out for 50 years and made money off the back of the county. There's no easement in the abstract. There's no ownership. There's no record of any interest. So it really cuts against the claim that there's an easement on this property. There is a plat map that's been filed when all of these landowners requested that the county build a road, to spend your money to build a road for the benefit of that property. And this property has not been abandoned. The Supreme Court is very clear that if it hasn't been used for 50, whatever amount of years, that's not an abandonment for purposes of it. And there's an Iowa statute that says when the county is asked to build a road, builds a road on its dime, it owns the property and not the property owner. County attorney looked at it and rendered that opinion. Thanks.
Do you have comments? What's your name?
My name is Nancy Blairdahl, and I mainly want to say I would like to see some areas in this county remain without anybody tramping on them. I like to go into a quiet area without tourists in it, without trailer houses in it, and it's such a peaceful area out there. It's just so quiet and so lovely. And I just don't think we need to have a bunch of people from the city or anywhere else tramping across that land. We've got all kinds of walking trails here in town and in the county. They're all over. And they can just go and walk there. I don't believe it's necessary to take this property and turn it into a recreation trail for the neighbors. Benefit with the people that they plan to bring in. So that's, not much to say, but that's what I wanted to say. So
That's fine.
It's harder for me to get up and speak, so.
No,
No,
you did good.
Very good, very good.
Anyone else with any comments? Is there anyone else online with any comments?
Hearing?
There's a hand up.
We have a motion and a second.
Wait, there's a hand up. Kevin Lee has his hand up online.
Oh, I asked.
Hello,
Kevin?
yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, just one question. I don't know if it's been explored about adverse possession. That's a tactic in which someone can file an adverse possession. Although I don't think that any of the owners have done that on this property. I'm not here to say it should be sold or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure that that was explored. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We have a motion and a second to close the public hearings. Is there any further discussion? None, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Was opposed, public hearing is now closed.
If you should choose to proceed with the vacation, here's the paperwork.
So I guess next up is a conversation about whether we want to vacate this or.
I guess they've had it. They've been running it for 50 years or whatever, paying taxes on it. It's hard to take something away from somebody that's their livelihood, that's their ways and means of income. And I don't think you can take that away from them.
I guess I would decide I'd be in favor of the vacation just because the county attorney is recommending it and.
Yeah.
I guess I would go with, I still have some questions about somebody asked for this to be vacated a long time ago. And who, do we know who that was?
That was us.
That was us.
1970s.
Yeah. And when were the grain bins built?
Mm,
Oh, my God.
really,
Yeah.
I'm done.
So anyway, I guess the county attorney is advising this. And so I guess I'd have to go with his judgment on that.
Let me ask one question of our surveyor. To the best of our interest, we don't see we have not found a document that shows any kind of an easement that we own as a county.
None in the courthouse that we've already gone.
And the only issue that was brought up by Mr. Wicca was the plat map and how old was that plat map that would talk about road across there?
1856.
1856. But again, we have a title opinion and an abstract that gives no reference. How far back does that title abstract go?
It goes back to the root of title, so it would be back into the 1850s, so it would cover this time frame.
So it appears that we don't have documentation. We have some old photographs.
Well, we did the first road petition when they asked the county to establish the road, which was granted. But there was no follow-up for a deed or an easement. So therefore, it would be by UC or prescription, whichever verbiage, but it would be an easement. Which is common in Iowa.
Do we have any prescriptive easement statutes that say it's no use for a period of time, that it has effectively been abandoned because of lack of use? Is there anything in the Iowa codes that would relate to that?
There's some arguments. There's certainly an argument that we would be vague. I mean, I defer to the county attorney on how that can be enforced against a county or a governmental agency, but that would certainly be one argument that we would be taking. And just to go back to the abstract, the first entry is 1853.
Thank you. That answered my questions.
Shirley, do you have any comments?
No, I'd love to offer a motion to vacate Horn Hollow Road.
Resolution, so I guess I would just want to say this could potentially set a lot of precedent on how we make this decision today. So we've also got another vacation looming out there type thing, but so we need to be prepared to stand with this decision and what that might bring.
We haven't all the previous ones, they have, so I guess stay with what we're.
I think your point is valid, Mark. I think that, it's on a case, as long as we're establishing it on a case by case basis based on, and there was a good point brought up of public use. There's been no apparent public use for perhaps 3/4 of a century. Yeah, that is a significant amount of time.
I would second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? And like I said, I'm just going on the advice of our county attorney.
Yep.
That's, at first I wasn't basically in favor of this, but I have to respect the county attorney's opinion.
I would agree with you on that.
So is there any other further discussion? We have a motion, we have a second. It is a resolution. Shirley?
Aye.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. I also. Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that was a good resolution based on everything said.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Consent agenda, Ben?
I've got the minutes and the claims and the VA monthly report.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Any committee reports?
Oh, yeah, the towers are all about erected now and they're working on getting fiber into the Echo Valley. That's gonna be the biggest. That's pretty rocky up there and it'll take a little.
How far do they have to take that again?
Roughly 2 miles. Yeah, it's got to go a little ways and it's not the best, real rocky ground up there, so it's a tough run, but yeah, they're looking. We're, I guess, not on wood, I can brag, but they're looking a month and a half ahead of schedule. Could be looking at mid-November to finish it up. They were talking January, but I don't want to say not, I don't want to jinx it. I guess everything's going really well.
I didn't realize those sheds come in all
Yeah,
pre-built.
they come off
Everything
pre-built.
hooked up.
they're gonna have them set on the pads, the towers, I mean, we're,
It doesn't take long.
no, yeah,
Have they written steel?
Oh,
They have standing? So
they're all,
Oh, they're all
they're all up now, yeah.
how big of a crane do they use?
it's
I'm
big.
not sure, it's yeah,
Big.
Well, Ocean's the shortest tower and that's just around 200.
yeah, their tallest one is 260, I think. Yeah,
And they got 3 guys that squirmish up the corners. And then they're swinging in and they bolt it and then they climb up to the next one.
they do the next, yeah, they do.
Last week,
Twist them both and just keep.
when we
going.
got that rain, we had a downpour in Ocean while them guys are up on the top putting the last one on. I'm like,
With lightning.
did not see any light. Okay,
Yeah.
is there any other?
And then, public health, I mean, nothing, they're just, they're short staffed there in the nurse end of it, and they're just a lot of trying to get more nurses and the pay scale and just bucking them, it's just hard to get employees with what the pay scale is, so. Gotta try to figure something out on that, how we can work through that scenario, but that's the biggest.
Because of the short staff, you have to work weekends
Yeah,
quicker.
work weekends, and then they're trying to figure out a little compensation for, when they started, there was probably 5 or 6 or 7 nurses, now they're down to 3, so now you gotta work every 3rd weekend instead of maybe once every 2 months. Well, now, I mean, it takes away from your livelihood, so I gotta try to figure out, we kind of compromised to compensate them for working every 3rd weekend,
And I think we're
it's
extremely lucky that we have such dedication.
there's 3 of them there, and they're going above and beyond to try to keep things going. I mean, they're really, they're. So we worked out so they could compensate them a little extra for that, so they were satisfied with doing that. So,
Couple more minutes, anybody else with any committee?
we got 6 county meeting coming up and
That's October 11th.
11th or whatever.
County Social Services is Wednesday. Or Osage, I think it is, Floyd County. But they're trying to go through this whole, as I talked about before, equity of pay. All of a sudden, everyone's asking, well, they've assumed more responsibility, so they need more pay, and they don't have a scale. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see. I said, you may have to hire an outside consultant longer into this, or it's just gonna keep on. I have, but you're agreeing, the rate it's going, that may be dissolved for some sense, but anyway, so for the stage, take it all over.
Something
Yeah, we need to do. And that's the one where only half of us are voting now. Yeah. I've been a voting member till the first of the year, and then, I'll keep. Yeah, so do that. Voting member, so. But you have to have less than half the people have, less than half people. More than half.
I run up to my office and see, because I don't have that loan paperwork, and I've got Tom's paperwork, but I don't have the here, so hopefully I have it in my phone, I just forgot to make it fast.
We'll give you 2 minutes.
25 seconds. But
You can have a public hearing as long as you record.
Don't fall and hurt yourself.
Mark has already elapsed bit.
Sure, let's lay it down.
A little interest, just since we got a couple minutes, a little interest from within the sphere of the courthouse here. Better utilization of the old jail building. I don't see the old jail building going away. It's an historic issue. It is an old jail. We have maintenance issues on it of a new roof. And I've discussed that with John Halverson, and he's going to put that quote, I get a quote for that, and put it into next year's budget. Because it appears that will be preserving that building for a long time. We don't use it for a lot today. Apparently, most of it is occupied by just some storage that needs to be reviewed and dealt with or archived. A lot of it is historic commissions, and we use it for a lunchroom. The interest falls within our IT department and anticipating that we definitely have recommendations of an IT director. And so that's something that we need to consider. Where would we house them? And then their current space within the courthouse is quite limited. John Lukey has looked at part of that space over there to see if it's an option for him. And after the meeting today, I want to take a walk through with him just to see what he has had in it. There's another issue. The sheriff, I asked him about it because it's obviously a secure building. It was a jail. There is a need in his department for evidence storage because he only has a couple of closets now and it's becoming very difficult, and there's more and more lengthy time and so forth of what he has to do for storing evidence. So it might possibly be an option for him to utilize some of the space in that building for evidence storage. And it could be secured. It would seem like a much better public interest. He had considered adding provisions in his next year's budget to add a evidence storage building to the existing complex down at the law enforcement center downtown. And rather than approaching that, I asked him about it over the weekend. He said, well, we can certainly look at that. It might be just as good of an option. It's available then for Andy Vandermotten and his deputies and so forth just as well. So there may be some good secondary use for that building that we're not currently using, and it may have some value. So I think it's worth exploring further, and I'll continue to do so and report in with whatever I find. There was conversation of maybe putting a second story in this, but that becomes a very expensive item in itself. And we've got space that we're not using. So there is basement space in there also, but it feels like that may not be a good one. Good because of the water and so forth for any kind of storage.
But it could be used.
But it's possible that it could be conditioned, it could be sealed better. I know that they did do some pointing in there and some rock work to make it more enticing. So we'll have to investigate all of it, but there's a lot of good use that potentially could be used for. So it's worth looking into.
Yeah, if you had a good roof on it.
I would agree with you. I mean, I think I've never been in. Thank you. No. When it was previous.
I have, it looks like it needs some cleaning.
Yeah, it's in a prime location. It's accessible because it's on ground level. Part of it is on ground level. And if we had it on here, probably you're gonna put an elevator. It was that's thing. So we should be looking into how can we use that better.
Yeah, I think it's a good public asset that's worth exploring. There is probably if that did evolve, the sheriff could use that for, probably the most inconvenience for the courthouse was we'd probably need to reserve a space or two out here where the road department parked so that they could pull in a vehicle and have easy access. But I think we have a space for the sheriff out there now. We might lose one parking space or something of that nature, but that's an option that we can explore.
I sometimes wonder about the ground floor of the courthouse. I mean, the bathrooms there, the men's bathroom is huge and the women's bathroom is almost non-existent, and it's not a real good public look. And lots of unused.
Unfortunately, that's the way things were built.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think long-term, we should also look at how could we reconfigure that downstairs over there for proper storage for chemicals and paints and a better women's bathroom space. And the men's probably definitely could use an upgrade.
Well, there's one thing that may be a pause on that. Some of the historic, when that was put on the historic register, part of that includes the furnishings and fixtures that are in the bathroom, including the stalls and the rest of that. So that may create some cloudy issues to accomplish all of that. But
the women's, I don't think is original to the building.
No.
So that one we can do, that's pretty. That's like you enter to a closet to get into a bathroom. The men's, I think everything can be restored to what it is. It's just, it could use a good
Yeah, I think,
cleaning.
we should probably get.
So anyway, that would be, we're looking at space issues. I think we should look at both at the same time and say, well, is there something we can?
For minute purposes?
Yeah.
We've had a brief discussion of the old jail.
Oh,
Okay. Now we'll get back
and the bathrooms.
to the agenda. We're gonna have a public hearing on a proposal to enter into a sewer revenue loan and disbursement agreement.
I motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second to open the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Public hearing is now open. Is there any public comment? Is there anyone online with any public comment?
No hands up. I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now,
It's a resolution to approve or to approve entering into the revenue.
sewer revenue
Sewer
loan
revenue.
and disbursement agreement.
Yeah,
I move to approve into a sewer revenue loan and distant.
Second,
We have a motion and second to enter into the sewer revenue loan and disbursement agreement. It is a resolution. Shirley?
aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I also. Motion carries. Unanimous.
I even have it ready for you to sign.
Both of them, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that didn't take us long.
Perhaps Tom can answer a question or two. Tom, would you join us? Okay, for you. The last.
You gotta wait till 10.
Ten.
Well, this is just discussion. Oh, this is about a separate issue. Our previous agreement, does that last billing cover, does that finalize that part of it as we move into a new one now?
No, you'll have one for, September yet. It's not gonna go on.
Right. And I saw that bill processing through from your staff.
Yeah, basically, our original agreement goes through what we did 2 weeks ago. We signed contracts with the contractor. That was the end of our scope of work then.
Dark.
In the general sense, is there any improvement on the horizon for any other work done next in the 24 year that's coming ahead?
For this project?
In general, no, in different projects of this type in general in the public sphere.
Oh, yeah, it's never ending, right? The DNR, they changed, rules and put out compliance schedules for all sorts of folks. I think Ocean's probably gonna be the next thing in this area. To be honest with you guys,
Oh, I know you're being honest.
you're gonna get a ammonia limit and probably a E. coli limit, and that's the things that, but we gotta keep in mind that those rules actually changed in 2006, I think. So it took this much time, right, for Festina and Fort Eck and all these guys to get to this point. But the rules did change in 2006.
So we're living on borrowed time.
Yeah. Yeah, and then a lot of places, I think if you want my opinion, Denver's probably maybe only 2/3 the way through all the communities in the state with regards to, changes that are required to meet those 2006 rules. So I've been involved with communities. I think Lake Mills is my longest one. Their permit was expired for 12 years before they finally got to it to include changes. So it's not unusual for a community operator to get the expired permit. It's not unusual for the rules to get implemented and then take years to roll down pipe. That's, the staff down there just doesn't have the capabilities of pumping all that stuff through.
Roll
From a
down the
financial
pipe.
standpoint, well, from a financial standpoint, if you could imagine the state trying to manage, the estimate in 2006 was $875 million of upgrades that were required for the state of Iowa. If you can try and imagine the limited group of folks down there approving and managing almost $1 billion worth of work at one time, that wouldn't even happen, right? It's just unrealistic, so it just takes a while.
All right, well, it's 10:10, back to the agenda. Tom Madden, the contract for engineering services and other documents related to the Festina Sewer Project.
Yes, we talked last week about scope of work and, what we should do with this particular contractor, which we all describe them as a good contractor and they don't need any more work than we have to do out there. And that's when I put together the original report for the project, and we base our estimates for engineering fees on a typical contractor. So the proposal I have in front of you has got a value of $52,700, which is the exact same value that was in the report 2 years ago or whenever it was, and has been in the financing package that's gone through the DNR the entire time. So we don't have to change any of that. Everything's just falling right into place on that. If you have the opportunity to read the first page, I guess, is bulleted items of what I do. What I want to assure you guys, because you're not in the business of water and wastewater, these kind of projects, is that between the team you have available on the project, which includes me on the construction side of things, Dorsey and Whitney on the legal side of things, Maggie Berger on the financial side of things, and then Diana Johnson on the Upper Explorer Land side of things. That group takes care of all your business so that when it comes down to it, it's just like that last issue, right? You guys didn't have to make this long application other than do a quick review, have a resolution, take care of it, and I'll take care of outside parts. That's the whole idea of this whole group in this project. So let you folks run the county, we provide you with the information that you need to take care of and answering questions and stuff like that. But from the day-to-day stuff, Ben doesn't have to do a lot of grinding on any of this stuff. You guys don't have to do any grinding. It's your team that takes care of it, and I take care of everything construction related. And that includes coordinating with Diana, with Maggie, and with Dorsey Whitney and all this stuff so that they can just provide you the things to act on. So I kind of try to keep everybody together when it comes down to that, help out Ben with some questions and stuff that he may have on that end of stuff. But when it comes down to the contractors and construction and the contract, I'm the guy who does everything for you guys. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. I try to bullet that out right. I'm going to answer Diana's question on this one. I don't know if she's got a question on it or not until it comes up, but all that's in here. All right. It's our goal. The only time that we would talk to you guys about any kind of amendment to this is if for some reason the contractor said, hey, we're in here working, we're going to get 92% of the project done, and then we're going to leave for 2 years. We're still going to have things to deal with in that 2-year period. And that's not in the scope of work. And the scope of work is based on them getting done by the end date, which obviously I feel very, very confident about. I mean, we're so far ahead of them guys starting any kind of work up there. And again, single phase power, all that stuff like that. I'm like 99.9% confident that what you see in front of here is what you're going to get. So the only time, again, when we see any kind of change in the scope is if there's a wild change in what the contractors are going to be doing out there. And with the group of folks who got this project, I just really don't see that happening. So everything we covered for you. Again, even I didn't specifically say in here, I'm going to talk to Diana about Dave's big wages. I'm going to talk to Diana about Dave's big wages. So I'm just really going to anticipate every single question stuff. The bulleted items hit the concept of what we're going to do. Any questions on that?
Sounds good.
Nope, sounds good.
All right, the other two items that I gave Ben on this project, and this, so I want to tell you guys that I think this project has just fallen into place perfectly. So we got the WIF money, which is some grant money for the project. Things have been going very well. We got a good contractor, and we were able to submit everything to the DNR by the end of last week because as of today, the loan program that we used for this project bumped their interest rate up by 1%. So we took care, and everything had to be in by last Friday. We took care of all that stuff. So like I said, everything on this project is falling right into play. These two items that are on here, which one of them is the notice to proceed for the contractor, is a requirement of that submittal, but I talked to the guys in state that said, just get it to us on Monday, we're fine with that. And then the other one is what's called a cost effectiveness self-certification. And what that means is that you guys are doing the most cost-effective project out here. Well, we did a report on this 2 years ago, and we picked the most cost-effective project. Okay, so it's just natural. You didn't say, hey, Tom, we like what you did on this low-cost item. We want to do the most expensive project out there. All right, nobody ever says that, right? And you guys certainly didn't say that. And that's basically what this certification is that you folks are moving forward with this cost-effective project. And we are. That's what the report was about. So, and that takes care of everything that I do for the DNR. Like I said, we beat the 1% increase in interest. Everything's just really falling into place nicely with the project. That's what I got for you today.
Sounds good.
So you need a motion on the agreement for professional services. Maybe I'll do that one first. And then Nate.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the contract for the engineering services. Is there any further discussion?
Have a second.
If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Then we need a motion to, we group the other two documents
so,
together. So we'll need a motion for the other documents related to the Festina Sewer Project.
What are they? Notice to, and the cost and effectiveness certification.
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and second to approve the other documents related to the Festina Sewer Project. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Next spring, we're reviewing all shop.
He can take.
Great, always to go. And then we'll pull the trigger. I will stop by, like I said, even though not a lot's gonna go on, I'll probably stop by once a month, maybe stretch out 6 weeks, depending what's going on, just to give you guys a heads up, so I want you to stay. Oh, I will tell you that I am meeting with Festina, a week from Wednesday, just to give them a heads up what's going on, and then talk to the property owner, to talk about that electrical easement and keep you guys up to speed on that too.
When will we find out anything on the loan forgiveness?
Anytime between when Ben gets this application submitted that you guys just approved until the end of the project.
Okay.
I mean, I wish I could give you a better date, but
Yeah.
my guess is it'll be, I think it would be. You're in the loan, the loan's open. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. You know, and like I said, they'll reach out, and when we get to construction, maybe I'll leave, if we have a great thing, I'll reach out to see if there's a status.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, like I said, every 4 to 6 weeks, we'll be back, even though not a lot's going on, just to keep giving you an update what's happening. And then once construction starts, I'll definitely be here once a month to go over pay requests, answer questions, give you updates, whatever. So that's all I got then.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, everybody have a wonderful day.
You bet.
We'll see you later. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, 1020, Adam Ramseth, RNS Fiber Optic Services Project updates.
He might, I think he's maybe on the line.
He's Adam, yes.
You online, Adam? I thought he was gonna maybe be in person, but.
does he need to be unmuted?
I don't know that there might be more than one.
Adam Ramseth, if you're there, you might be muted.
It was a couple of weeks ago when I made had him on the agenda, but I copied him on it, so
Well, he's got 10 minutes.
yeah. And I can't criticize anyone for being late. So. Yeah, there he is.
Sorry for doing that.
Grab your chair.
All right.
What do you got for us this morning?
Well, slightly less than I hoped. We pushed it up a little bit because the state was supposed to announce the new grants on Friday. They did not. So the status of the handful of grants that my broadband put in and or you guys put the impact zone in for, those have not been announced yet. But on the building front, Centec is building a state-funded OCIO project. Basically, everything south of Kalmar and Frankville and Spillville down to the county line is all being built out by Centec. So if you have any questions in that arena, that's who's building down there. I think there might be literally 3 or 4 ohms down by Jackson Junction that actually spills into an area that Hawkeye is building, but that's mostly in Fayette County. My broadband is building east and northeast of Decorah, also a state-funded OCIO project. Currently this year, I don't know if they'll get finished with that this year, but that encompasses basically from Highway 9 north, the majority of the eastern half of the county. They're doing a little bit of work on the far west end of the county as well. You see some Mostech trucks out there. That's my broadband's contractor. They were working on the pole line the other day. Most of that project is in Howard County, but that spills over a little bit into Winneshiek. We have 4 911 towers going up. So there's some building related to that, all of those fiber pieces. I'm building those for the 911 committee, and then those will be serviced and maintained by a Centec in the long term because they all connect to a Centec fiber. So that building's going on right now. We just completed a tower site on Santry Ridge, and we have the Kalmar one complete and the Ocean one. We have the one up by Canton to finish yet west of Bluffton. Other than that, that's the majority of the builders in Winneshiek County. I do know that next year, Hawkeye Telephone is going to build out the city of Kalmar. They've started advertising, sending out mailers. That is in their plan for next year. And then majority of any building that would happen in Winneshiek County next year, besides that I can see would be related to my broadband's endeavors. And in this latest round of the OCIO.
What area did they cover with this most recent application?
So most of northwest Winneshiek County that is not already built out by Mapletown, which of course is part of my broadband. 2 of the 3 impact zones were basically from Highway 9 north all the way to the county line on the northwest side. There's also a 3rd impact zone, which is primarily north of Decorah, and actually spans across Decorah, although there's no funding for anything within the city, but is primarily bookending the eastern project that they have going on now, and then the 2 northwest projects, and not going all the way up to the county line, but a good number of miles directly north of Decorah. So
Like following the Locust Road kind of up.
Yeah, mostly east of 52. But it's we'll have to see with the award. It's a little bit hard to tell with the impact zones because they're an area, but there's only a certain number of eligible homes within that area. So sometimes it's a little bit misleading just looking at the graphics of it. So when the awards come out, we'll actually be able to see a little bit more specifically what their build targets are going to be.
What houses, like, what becomes awarded, or how do you become awarded, or your location is, or?
Yeah, so the OCIO changed in this last grant round and this ITQ process. They changed from being a census block oriented eligibility map to an individual property eligibility map. So they
just for everyone's information, OCI is the Office of the Chief Information Officer for the state.
Yeah.
So they're kind of coordinating the.
Yeah, but that's where all the broadband initiatives that originate at the state level are being facilitated out of. So they're currently in the 8th round of funding, and they have $150 million that they're giving out this time around to projects. But so they, through various self-reporting mechanisms and the FCC and an entity called Connected Nation, on the federal level, there was broadband map put together. The state adapted it for Iowa. And so when they released that map, they had a sort of a challenge period where they were asking providers to, hey, fill in the blanks if you actually provide fiber service or service to the speeds that we are asking for. Otherwise, these homes are going to show up as eligible for grant money. And so it's kind of a hodgepodge how it goes together. And I will say there is a lot of inaccuracies on the map, and they're slowly getting fixed. And it has a hard time taking into account new building and things like that because it's fairly static. But that's the basis for the grant initiatives. And then people build projects based off of what homes are available. There's a broadband map. If you go to the OCIO site, it's called Broadband version 5. There's an online map. You can actually zoom into Winneshiek County and see what residences are deemed eligible and ineligible. And it's fairly easy to navigate.
Conceptually, the idea is that these companies would never build these networks without grant money because there aren't enough customers because you're talking for big distances without many customers, so they can't make money on them just building them on their own. So the state has offered grants to help them build them.
Yeah.
They still, the grants only cover a portion of the cost, so they still are going to have to charge customers to make back money. But
and it's varied in different grant windows that they've had come out. It's been as low as 30% matching funds, 80%. So they're heavily targeting rural areas. They want to, essentially the idea is it's more expensive to build in the rural. The state wants to incentivize broadband as aggressively as they can in the rural environment, and then start walking back through smaller communities and eventually get the state of Iowa fully covered. So the focus of the grant money is in those areas, like Ben said, that are just cost prohibitive to build otherwise. So if you look through some of the grant applications, you can see kind of the estimated cost per home of the grant. In some of the areas in Winneshiek County, they're estimating it's going to cost $24,000 per passing to get to customers in this area because of the rugged nature of the construction. So if my broadband does get one or more of these grants this time around, they will be higher percentage grants and hopefully allow a lot of the rest of Winneshiek County rural environment to get built out. So from what I see, the far north end of Winneshiek County is still going to have some gap areas. And then unfortunately that several mile ring around Decorah that is all CenturyLink territory that probably has some of the worst service in all of Winneshiek County. Some of that will still be remaining too. But some of that will hopefully get picked up with this next round of grant money if they get awarded their grant. But some of that will definitely still be, there'll be quote unquote low hanging fruits around the city of Decorah where they centrally can't really provide anything to speak of, and it's a tough sledding. So
how many customers roughly would you say are in that ring?
That is a good question. That's kind of hard to say. Centec and my broadband both have put up fairly robust wireless service. So there is some more option there. I don't, off the top of my head, I couldn't say that I have a very good grasp on what that there actually is. But
does that include our state garage property?
The county garage.
Well, it's the one out by the.
The
state
DOT,
garage, though.
yes, that is a dead zone out there, yeah. We've actually had several, I've been asked several times by different entities to quote what it would take to get to the state DOT, and the numbers are never good, so.
Yeah, I talked to John Lukey about that this morning, and
Yeah.
the tower up on 9.
Up on the John Deere Tower, yeah.
To serve that site because we're paying a very high bill.
Yeah, that would be an excellent, in my opinion, an excellent intermediate step to reduce the cost of service down there.
Do you know, is Hawkeye part of the grant funding that's in this current round?
They are, but nothing in Winneshiek County that I'm aware of.
Okay, because they're extending up in servicing Calmer. And I heard one of their people say that their board wanted to continue that loop around over past Spillville or Plymouth and back down to Hawkeye to create a full loop out of it.
Okay.
Have you heard any more about that?
I have not. I didn't, like I said, I do know they're building Calmar next year, and they do have a line that comes all the way up to Decorah. That line then dead ends in Decorah. So there is some grant area kind of disconnected that they could potentially try to put that loop together with, but they're kind of slicing through a few other territories. So it'd be sort of start and stop as far as grant money went. And but yeah, I think Hawkeye's in a position where they're looking at what smaller communities haven't been built yet, and which ones are they nearby, and which ones they can get to. So
is the southwest corner, how would you rate the service in general for the southwest corner of the county?
Not great at the moment, but a Centex project that they're building this year covers almost the entirety of the southwest corner. I do know that project happens to be tough sledding and very over budget from all the rock they've hit down by Fort. At one point I heard that they might pause that project, but they've continued, and it's almost complete from a construction standpoint. How quickly they'll move on getting it spliced up and starting installs, I don't know. But that was an OCIO NOFA 6. So that was several years ago that was funded. And Centec has been a recipient of a number of state grants. They've done a lot of work in the counties surrounding Winneshiek. So I would suspect that services would be available by spring at the latest, I would think, if not sooner. But excuse me, service would be fantastic once they're done. I would say they have a good product, and it'll all be fiber fed. So yeah.
Even up around Satry, is that your project?
Yeah, we ran down Satry about 1.5 miles for the 911 tower. From the 911 towers going up on this Echo Valley. Yeah. So we came out of Satry, ran east to that main intersection where we were teeing up with the Centec cabinet. So
Would be going down like side road or something like that?
Centec is essentially inheriting that fiber as part of the whole arrangement with the 911. And then we'll be maintaining circuits. So they would be able to build off of that line that we put in. We put in a larger count line there than we did at the other sites, specifically because there was some running footage, and that they would then be able to utilize that to provide fiber to the home in the future.
Somebody talking to me tomorrow. They have fiber plant. That's my place.
Yeah, if it was
dead end road, it's like I don't know anything about
it. Yeah, no,
That's actually what spurred this whole thing.
So two people from Saturday. Now, and the question was, if people hook on now, is it cheaper than if they ask to hook on later?
So my advice to anybody in rural Winneshiek County is when somebody comes and says, hey, we're running fiber, a lot of the companies are looking to get, not necessarily to sign you up, but to get your permission to run a fiber drop to your property. They are almost completely across the board incentivized by the state to do so. So it is generally free to run your fiber line if you say yes when they're doing the project. If 2 years later you call them and say, we'd like this now, the grant window will have closed. They'll no longer be getting any additional funds from the state, and they're likely to charge you for that fiber drop. I'm not saying for sure they will, but they most likely will. So you don't have to take service to say yes to go ahead and bring a line to my house. And my advice generally would be to say yes to that
There are-
particular
There are
site.
people that will not.
Oh, I run into that all the time. I completely understand.
Do you want to contact that citizen that asked about that?
I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
What to do,
We'll
well,
have to make sure we get better.
If it's up by Satchery Ridge, it's likely on the My Broadband project, I would assume. We didn't run anywhere other than Satchery Ridge and just, that couple 100 feet up Echo.
I
So,
believe this was Centec was.
it was the one contacting her.
Yeah.
okay, well, maybe they are.
I don't know.
Doing
Well, I-
it there, but.
Check on that.
Okay. But yeah, if it's grant funded, I don't know with that area around Satchery Ridge, but it being Centec territory, but My Broadband getting grants in the vicinity. I'm not sure how aggressive a Centec will ultimately be in building out fiber up there. That area may end up getting subsumed by My Broadband. But generally what we see is one company will build fiber to the house and build down the road, and generally other companies will not. They may have a line through there for transport reasons and whatnot, but it's not cost effective generally to try to compete on a fiber to fiber basis with other customers. And just as a side note with the OCIO, if you have a grant project and you come across a customer that's within your grant that already has fiber from somebody else, that essentially relieves that company from needing to build to that house because they're meeting the broadband requirements that the state has set out. So because of that, we generally don't see overlap on actual fiber drops running to the home. So.
Well, thank you, Adam.
Good, thanks.
That's a problem. Again, I apologize for being 2 minutes late.
It's okay.
I'll be down here.
Next on the agenda, Andy Vandermotten. Legal questions regarding agenda and other issues. Good morning, Andy.
I tell you, Adam's discussion was much more interesting than mine is.
What are you building out?
I think quite like that. I got the tail end of the microwave, thing that he was bringing up, and I'm sure where that was, but don't we have some extra microwave equipment on existing towers that would go off?
They were gonna
911 system?
Trade something with Cal, I don't know.
So I'm just saying there might be something there that they should be connecting on.
Yeah, there was, I'm not sure how it all, they were gonna trade something with Kelmer, I don't. There was a little confusion on what the cost or something was, and I don't know where it's all ended up going.
Well, I just didn't know if there was some extra microwave link.
Yeah.
And all the towers are built that they could look into.
Into the
Acquiring.
DHH. DHS. Might be something.
Yeah.
So your point.
Our DHS building out there on 52, their monthly charge for internet and phone is more than the courthouse and Smith building all combined. At that one building, because they're going still through phone lines versus, so if we can get them hooked into our network somehow, we can save hundreds of dollars a month.
Yeah, check with that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we've been talking about that, but it hasn't been convenient.
I won't have a meeting this Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Well, what you were talking about is just across the valley there.
Yeah.
And we're talking about utilizing that if we're getting the link to DHS building. Eventually, they're gonna want internet at the Nesty property for conservation, so it can maybe be the same, because that's not that far away. That you can utilize the same transmission from the tower to get both of those properties.
I'm thinking the new towers, I think everything is fiber based, and Sean and Dan will correct me on that, I'm sure, but might be something to keep in mind.
Yeah, what the, Sean, see what. Yeah, saying having a meeting tomorrow, because everything is.
That Oronello Road is vacated, in case you didn't hear that happened this morning. Well, we have to file it with the recorder's office yet, but yeah.
That's a long project done.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else? I have a couple of issues that I just want to touch base with you on. State Public Defender's Office has the southwest corner office on the third floor. They have had some, I don't want to call it reorganization, but they don't need that amount of space. I talked to probation and parole, which has a small office in between the magistrate courtroom and Judge Moon's office. They would like that space if no one else does, because they can add another probation officer up there, and right now they can't. They can't fit in that. So I visited with John Lupke because I know at one point in time there was talk about, and John didn't think there was enough additional space up there to make it worth the move. If you're comfortable with it, I will put together a proposed amendment to the contractors of the lease and float that around. And then we get it on the agenda sometime. I certainly think it's helpful to keep the court stuff on that level. But if you have a different use for that space that you have in mind, we're going to need to come up with a different place than for probation.
Well, John would be the only one that I could think of, but.
Yeah, he hasn't really expressed an interest in it.
Yeah.
As being adequate for what he needs.
Yeah, I talked to him this morning saying, yeah, it's a nice office, nice view, but he said it doesn't give us enough extra square footage to make it
Worthwhile.
worth revamping it, I guess. And you can verify that with him, just, tell him so many things, but that was the impression I had from him. The other issue is, I know I talked to you a few weeks ago that we had hoped to get an attorney hired who might be able to help with some of the HR stuff in the county, and that did not materialize. So at some time, if Shirley and Steve, if we could talk again, my thought is we could walk through what to put into an FRP for that. I mean, I think there's some decisions that we might want to discuss on the front side, whether this is a project-based solution that we're looking for, if it's a hands-on day-to-day response that, or is it an hourly, is it a retainer? How do you want to lay it out? To do this type of stuff. So at your convenience, give me a call, and I think we should look at that.
And sounds like a very good idea.
And I know other counties that have a firm that does do that kind of work have both ways, whether it's a retainer or a per hour type billing. And so you two should talk over with Andy on set up, because you want to compare apples to apples. If just come in, you don't want one.
And this would be detailed down the road, but obviously if you're doing an hourly, you probably want a gatekeeper of some sort who's going to say who calls and who has authority to hire, and whether that's depends on my office or it's the individual department heads. Maybe not, doesn't need to necessarily be in the RFP, but it needs to be something that's discussed with those entities when you start reviewing those proposals.
There's something cleaner about just having the retainer type fee that then people can call as they need them. But you guys have to talk about that and come with recommendations for. That's what we did 10 years ago when we had someone outside firm help. But
we Steve and Shirley and I had talked, it's been several weeks ago, but one of the the policy manual has been updated probably once a year since 2017, I think. But it's kind of pieced together at this point, and it could be revamped or at least reviewed to see if it should be revamped. That might be an option as to what projects do we have, and is this a firm that we could hire on a per project basis, or is it a firm that we want to have on call? So those are things that if I could meet with the two of them again, maybe we could put a proposal together for the full board considered before we finalize an RFP.
As long as they're both willing.
Yep, I think it's timely since you're hired fell through. I think we might as well move forward.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Shirley?
Yeah. She got a thumbs up.
Yes, I am.
Point to that than you guys are. Anything else?
Was Andy gonna send that road up north where we didn't hear nothing back from,
Guys have information on that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ren?
No.
Yeah.
This was Jeffrey Field.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
with the riprap in the right of way.
That's good.
I can see that now, if you wanted to inform me now, or.
It is his time.
It is your time now.
So a week and a half ago, I tried calling him, didn't get any answer, but then last week he gave me a call back and was made aware that he has talked to both landowners and is currently working with another attorney in the county here to write a easement, and we'll be getting with Andy and our department on that and to look through it, but, he's gonna be working with Jeremy Johnson on that easement, so,
I think the goal was the board was willing to vacate it and give it to him as long as he could get those easements in place, the other landowners still had access. And so.
okay, so once we hear something on the easements, well, maybe take a look at it, we can review that type of stuff and then move forward from there, but yeah, I mean, if at some point, if the easement doesn't come in, then we're gonna need to have a conversation about, the code doesn't allow that obstruction to go right away and require them to get out of there.
I think for the public too, this road is a level C, actual road, level C road. It's not like it hasn't been used, because it's kind of been used. And it was actually put a level C about 15 years ago, maybe, something like that, 15, 20 years ago.
Different situation.
So it's a different situation than the one we just did on that. So it's a little more recent history on this one, because
I'll wait here. Anything else? Ryan?
No, that was.
No, I think you're good, Danny.
Right years.
Come on up, Nick.
Morning.
Good morning.
As far as project updates, Brennan is out of there on 373 on North Berry Road. The next step is for our guys to actually do the backfilling. So now it's by the end of the week, we'll be in doing. Along that line, the shouldering, working on W14. Stevie, you had asked that last week, and we did progress with that. But then now with all the moisture that we got, plus having to backfill out at Bridge 373, we may be on hold there for a little while. Best case scenario, end of the week there. Even without that box culvert going on, we're probably gonna have to wait till the end of the week. But if they need extra trucks up there on that box culvert hauling dirt in, then that might get pushed back another week on that. So Bridge 317A, it's the one that was being discussed quite a long time ago. It's the driveway bridge that goes back into Dwayne and Barbara Johnson's place, and it's a 3-ton bridge right now.
River Road.
I guess I'm not 100% certain. Where
I think so.
Yeah, it's up on River Road.
So we're currently talking with Chef Britson on that, trying to develop a plan set, and we may have quotes back next week to have some work done on it so that landowner can get his LP trucks in. That's the biggest concern right now, is if we don't get any work done on that structure before winter, we're gonna have to potentially move his LP tank and have lines going all the way from the house. So hopefully next week we'll have more information for you on that.
What, is that an entrance? Are they the only landowner there?
Shirley, could you move, please?
There's somebody beeping.
there's somebody else's.
It's not from me, but I'll mute.
Okay.
It's in a,
Yeah. There was one owner there, that one where we were talking about, like, it's a home where we're gonna fix the bridge and then give it to them. Is that what we're doing on this one? Or is this one have other?
I don't know that conversation has happened with the landowner yet.
Okay.
But
It's
So I
something
know
that we
there's a
certainly
map of the LP tank, maybe moving it
500 feet.
over towards,
Hmm.
that would be the southeast side of the property, closer to the bridge, because it wasn't over behind the shop or something.
It might be something to also keep in mind is if you're going to upgrade their bridge, that now is a good time to vacate the entrance then.
But
Once you
that
get it
bridge
up
is
to-
on county.
It's in the county right away.
County right away.
It's a 50-foot right of way through there along River Road.
Oh, I see. You
Yeah.
can't vacate it because it's.
It's in
Yeah.
the right away.
You need it for the River Road right of way. Okay.
Now, it's possible you could do a jog around the bridge. And so I'd have to talk with the staff to find out, if there's enough room to jog
And the other.
and not have long-term negative effects to the right of way that we want on River Road. But that's certainly a possibility that we can look into, especially if we decide that we want to do where we were completely replacing the structure, where we could move it 5 feet or something and get it, to where we still have that 33 feet from the center of the road potentially. But I don't have all that data right now, but it's possible that we could get some work done yet this fall to get it up to 7 to 9 ton. That would allow the LP tank to get in. So I might have quotes back for you for next week on that.
Anyway, I just throw it out there because it might be something to keep in mind. If anytime you can get rid of these that
Yeah.
aren't really for the public or one landowner.
It's an old bridge, real old.
Yeah, we have to repair both the abutment and some of the members of the truss. So we'll just have to see how that all works out. But
So will they just walk across it and they can repair or?
correct, they should be able to walk across the rail. So, yeah. I know in order to do the concrete on the abutment, they'll take a couple plank off, probably just one, but they still should be able to
walk.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe by next week, maybe we'll have some prices back to you to take a look at that. I just want to give you a heads up on that.
Okay.
Equipment. So machine number 111, the motor grader that we talked about that we're going to trade in now in December, instead of, that was probably the top one that was going to get traded in a year from now when the new machine comes in. On Friday, unfortunately, we may have lost the transmission. However, the mechanics are indicating now that it may be an inching pedal, and they've got that part on order. It's a $1,400 part. Once that gets put in, then we'll know more, but we don't know 100% quite yet on it. But it could be the transmission. We're not sure yet.
The way our luck goes. He has the transmission.
We did have blades out both Saturday and Sunday. We worked 7 to 5, had 9 of the guys out. It wasn't a requirement. We just called everybody out and see if anybody could make it in. So we had 9 blades out on Saturday, and then Sunday they worked 7 to 12. And the same thing, had 9 blades out, but we had roughly 3 to 4 3/4 inches around the county is what we kind of heard. So.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah, 5.3 which way?
Okay.
3.6 in Steelville.
2.3 I had.
Well, the road is a lot nicer coming this morning than it has been for a long time. So good.
We had to settle that dust down.
I mean, those, all the, the washboard and so on.
Along that line, then I do want to talk to you. I've seen last week you guys had on the, had a conversation about having a public forum. I really think that would be a very, very poor thing to do. I think it's only going to cause more divide within the department. I don't think that that's a correct thing to do. We did have meetings with multiple board members, with Jeff and myself, last week. And I plan to have meetings with the other guys that I have not had a meeting with yet. We had a meeting with one of the shops, but I think everything was pretty productive last week. We had multiple conversations, with issues that arose. I think if we can continue that road, I think that's a benefit. But again, I think if you were to go the route of having people come in, it's just going to be negative thing to be thrown at secondary road department, and it's just not going to be a good thing. It's going to create more divisiveness, I think.
Work together. Right, Nick?
Proactive response, that's good.
No, I sat down with Nick and Jeff after last week's meeting and we had a lengthy discussion and I think everything there went extremely well.
I did wins.
Tuesday morning.
Yeah. But, yeah.
So I encourage anyone else,
Yeah,
when it works for Nick,
yeah, I would just like to make sure that we do sit down, and I had a meeting with Shirley on Monday afternoon as well. So Steve and Mark, if we could set up a time where it meets Jeff's schedule and my schedule and just sit down and go through some things, just so we're all on the same page and start progressing from there. So,
did you have a chance to look at any of those projects that we discussed last Monday?
yeah, and we met with both landowners. We're still currently in the process of looking into some things. We looked at a cattle crossing location, and I've got, Jeff is looking with the bridge crew and looking into what we've done in the past in those locations. But we did stop out there and talk to the landowner out there. The location with the riprap, I stopped out there and looked at that as well. And I have had a conversation with that landowner. And what we're planning on doing there is we're going to do what's needed for the bridge. And then he's going to hire a contractor after the fact to finish what he's wanting to do out there. But yes, I've met with both landowners and not 100% sure what we're going to do on the cattle crossing quite yet. But, yeah.
So you have a chance to look at them, that makes everyone happy.
Mhm.
Well, riprap that he's talking about, it's a smaller bridge south of Washington. And the bank is eroding out by the wing. So the landowner actually contacted the engineers department last spring, I think. And then he's willing to spend some money to continue bringing the riprap up the bank, is what I understood from him when I spoke.
And that's the plan, is that we're going to put enough riprap in to make sure that the bridge is
Stabilized.
and then he's going to take it from there. So.
Hey, that sounds good. Thank you.
Did you get a call from anyone about the North Wind Road up by the old?
Yeah,
Mark told me about that.
Yeah.
So that's a settlement issue up there is what I haven't looked at that one myself, but Jeff went up there and took a look at it. It's a location that we replaced the box culvert previously, and we did put concrete in. There's questions sometimes as to whether or not you should backfill with dirt or with rock, and there's pros and cons to each one. If you backfill with dirt, you gotta make sure you have everything compacted really well, but the benefit of dirt is you have the exact same base as what's next to the excavation, so you have freeze thaw situations going on exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you have backfilled completely with rock, the moisture in the fall will drain through that rock significantly different than what it will drain through the dirt that's surrounding it. And so what you actually have is the road will heave because the moisture in the earth surrounding it will freeze, heaving the road up and the box will stay in one spot. So it's kind of one of them damned if you do, damned if you don't situations. But what we do have is we were able to put some signs up there indicating that there's a bump. And then we've already contacted I think we contacted a couple of different companies to River City was going to be in doing some asphalt work already. Even though it's currently concrete, but what my thought on is the road itself is not in terribly great shape. So if we could just put a Band-Aid on top of that thing and just level it off, and then we can take care of it a little bit more permanently once we actually get to paving that road.
So you fill it with blacktop?
Correct.
Is that something you could have foam injected or?
I think if it's certainly possible to try that.
I know it's more cost effective, but it's gonna be less of a.
So they're gonna already be in to do some work at one of our hoop buildings. And so I think that might be the most cost effective.
I think the reason maybe they didn't do it before was it's busted up. So that foam reason wasn't gonna work. That's just what I had heard. I hadn't bet that myself, but that's what The guy that called me said that's why they didn't do the phone.
Yeah,
One or something.
I wanted that over
cost
County.
effective is,
Yeah.
you know.
We've done it in Howard County from time to time, especially on bridge abutments. And it works, but then sometimes it comes back, so.
A lot of them comment on the pay. There's bridge in Madison. They got that, did an excellent job. Fixed that up nice. Yeah.
That one had quite a.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
When they first did
Yeah. Real big thanks.
Yeah.
Up there in North Bend, kids on the school bus were liking the big bounce they got that almost did put their head on the ceiling of the bus. But there was 3 accidents apparently up there in the previous week when Kirkby called me, Kirkby's welding shop up there. You know, that was that got to be pretty serious.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else either. All right.
You gonna be in your.
Okay. Thank you, Nick.
What do we got? 2 more to go? Yeah, come on, a big one and a single axle, ain't it, I think?
Trucks on order?
Yeah.
The 2 that are getting finished. Yeah, I think there's
The single axle and tan.
single is gonna be the last one.
I have one other thing. Do we have any results of why that accident, that one injury accident happened on our road crew? We done any kind of accident investigation? Do we know any details or is there any why, or is it a safety training issue or?
I'll have to talk to Jeff on that, but it's probably something we don't want to talk about in the.
Yeah, I just needed, we had some resolve in an investigation of some degree.
Yeah, and the safety committee is meeting this afternoon, so you could talk about it then.
Yeah.
And the engineer used to be on the safety committee. I don't know if that's anything you want to, or assign one of the staff over there to participate on the safety committee meetings. But Lee used to be on the committee, but.
What time is it?
It's at 1.
1, okay.
So that's up to you. Haven't gotten to the point of figuring out what your plan is on that, but.
Safety committee meets.
Right here at 1 today. We've been going through the safety manual, but you'd be welcome to.
Okay.
Yourself or someone else come in your.
I think I should be able to stick around here until that time today. If not, I'll have somebody from my staff over. Yeah. All right. Good.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Yep. It's got that one maintainer December that's supposed to come in. The one we bought last.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we're supposed to get rid of it in 2 months. Our luck.
Maybe it's just the pedal.
Yeah.
Do we have did they finish all the work on the ring replacement on the one? Do we have that one back in service? They took this.
For the rebuild?
Rebuild?
No, I don't believe so.
I doubt that's back in service yet. I haven't asked recently, but. That was something they were gonna look into to see if they could get that rebuilt before winter, but.
The one we took down to get remanded, didn't we?
Yeah, that's one we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Cause that was a couple-month project, if I recall, right? Well, for what we have. First thing under the miscellaneous is a Roman Lensing letter.
Do you want to read this, Shirley, or what do you want? Shirley is the one who asked me to put this on the agenda.
Actually, Roman requested that we put it on the agenda in his letter. Let me see if I can pull it up. Just a second.
I have it here if someone wants to read it.
Yeah, I have it right here.
That'd be great. Thank you.
September 19th, Winneshiek County Board of Supervisors. It was brought to my attention, and this is from Lansing, Chickasaw County Engineers letter. Brought to my attention that my name was brought up in the Winneshiek County Board of Supervisors meeting on 9/18. During said meeting, board member Steve Kelsey said that he had a conversation with me in regards to counties having a shared county engineer. He stated that I was a shared engineer between two counties. Steve then stated that after a short period of time, a year or so, that I went back to only providing services to Chickasee County, and this was a false statement. In October of 2021, I was approached by the Chickasee County Board of Supervisors to be employed as the Chickasee County engineer. Prior to that, I was the assistant engineer for Chickasaw County. During this discussion with the Chickasaw Board of Supervisors, it was asked if I would be willing to also provide the same service as county engineer to Floyd County, which was being done for many years prior by former engineers. I informed the Chickasee County Board of Supervisors that I was not interested in being a shared county engineer, with the main reason being proximity between my home in Winneshiek County and Charles City. Another factor that affected my decision is that I was placed into the county engineer position rather abruptly and felt that I may not have been prepared to manage two entire counties while also keeping project development and design on schedule. This was my decision based on my individual circumstances and in no way should be resignated to similar situations as an absolute. A county can thrive with a singular county engineer or a dual county engineer. It comes down to the abilities and desires of that individual, as well as the supporting staff. Look throughout the state at other counties. There are several dual county engineers that are doing a fine job. And of course, there are several single county engineers that are doing the same. This letter is not meant to single out any of you, but the rumors are abound. And I feel that if even a portion of this action and statements of this board are true, then you engineer, whether it be a single or dual county. The Iowa DOT has given you guidance. Your county attorney has given you guidance. The Code of Iowa is there to be adhered to. They should all be followed accordingly. Citizens of Winneshiek County deserve better than this. You should all be working together in a respectful and lawful way that upholds democracy and provides the best services to Winneshiek County. Thank you for your time, Roman Lindsay. DE.
Let me, your website. I'll have it available if anyone wants it.
All right, next under the miscellaneous, sound system update, discuss possible interim changes.
So I didn't put John on the agenda specifically because parts of the new sound system are on back work. So they can't come and install because they don't have all the pieces yet. So, and they don't even have an exact time when those parts are coming. So that was the request of the board last week, was to get an update from him. He can't really tell you much more. So I'm just telling you, we're still waiting patiently.
I think it was possibly the end of October.
Okay.
A far cry from 2 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's out there. I mean,
No, it's-
they're in back.
That's what it is.
Can't point fingers and blame people, which is make things go now. Yeah.
Shirley, did you want to discuss anything else related to that? Because you asked if you wanted to make any changes in the interim or anything.
Just if we would ever entertain moving the tables to face the audience in the interim so that they can hear us better. I can't hear anything. Is anybody talking?
No. I certainly would be I would certainly be in favor of that, but I don't know that it would hurt anything.
I'm okay with the way they are. Because we're sitting on each ends and we can't hear what each other's saying either, so I guess, I mean, I don't know, it's just positive and negative, I mean, yeah, yeah.
What did you say,
I'd say-
Mark?
I said it's, if we're gonna have some all in one long row, then we ain't gonna be able to hear each other on each end either. So once we get the new sound system, then it will,
We can see what it does for us.
I guess, wait till get the new sound system, and then if it doesn't work that they can hear, then go from there, I guess. Otherwise, yeah, that's my take, I guess.
Let's see what our $20,000+ is for us.
For, yeah.
Well, this was a discussion about what to do in the interim between now and the time that that sound system comes. That if our audio could be improved by facing anybody attending the meeting, it's worth a try. But if the three of you don't want to do that, that's the way it goes.
Well, I think it's more important that we hear each other at the table
Yeah.
at this point.
How would we know unless we try?
Equally important for the audience to hear everyone.
Yep.
It's not a public meeting.
I feel that when you decide to
Public
take
hearing.
the job, you are saying that you will have a true public meeting and everybody in the room can hear everything that's being said. Of course, you would speak loud enough to hear each other too, no matter which way you were sitting.
Dan, could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I don't think you need to move the tables. However, if you would just sit like Mark is right now, the person who comes sits over here and just slants a little bit this way, then your voices project out. So you don't really need to, because then you're in horseshoe, we can hear you too, and you can hear each other.
Yeah.
It's an
I was
idea.
gonna suggest that Ben would move around and we'd all be facing this way, even the presenters. I think that would be, or if the presenter was at this end of the table talking through us and to the audience. Very good.
Yeah, Steve is in the right position. We can hear him okay.
So everyone would shift down just a little bit and the presenters would be at that end facing.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But we can try that.
That way nobody's back, and Ben would be on the side too, so nobody's back would be for you.
Right.
And people usually hear me anyway.
Yeah. We'll mute Ben.
I try to say as little as possible anyway, so.
I think, should we try that next meeting? Let's have everyone more on the side and the presenters at that end. And Ben could be where Steve is maybe, or. It would,
Move Shirley down there, and the presenter said.
well, yeah, so we all shift down to the presenter over here.
That's fine.
Up to you.
I think that would be a compromise for now.
I would appreciate it. It sounds like a wonderful plan. If everybody is facing in general this way instead of the backs, I believe that would be a good solution, yes.
Okay, we'll give that a try next week. Next, under the miscellaneous, the RFQ results for engineer search firms.
I just put this on as miscellaneous, and we didn't need a big amount of time because nobody responded to our RFQ. I did have a contact from a company that Steve had gotten through a chain of referrals, but they didn't get the information from me until middle of last week. So they haven't said for sure whether they would like to submit an RFQ, but they knew they wouldn't be able to get it by Friday deadline. So I don't know if you want to entertain a extension for a week or two, at least to see if they submit, or if there are others that I know Shirley was trying to get a referral, but the first one she got decided they weren't interested in doing it. So, but all of those contacts all happened just last week and we were getting close to the deadline. So
I move that we extend the search for, would you recommend one or two, Ben?
I would say 2
weeks is long.
I move that we extend the search term for 2 weeks.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to extend the search for RFQ for 2 weeks. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Well, go ahead,
Can you-
Shirley.
The RFPs that we're expecting from these consultants, it might take more than 2 weeks. it's gonna take a long time regardless. So I would suggest 3 or 4 weeks to get these out there and really do some searches for some firms, because the ones I looked into in Minneapolis and in Sioux City don't handle this level, this smaller level. So it might take us a little bit longer. I guess we can always vote for another extension later if we don't get anything in the 2 weeks. I'd be fine with that. But I'd also like to see us entertain a discussion on Monday's agenda to discuss the possibility of a shared county engineer or 2080 agreement.
I was gonna suggest that we
Well, let's stay,
start moving forward with
let's stay
that.
on this topic because it's still
Yes.
part of our agenda.
Well,
That's why
okay,
I said
go
to
ahead.
put it on the agenda for Monday.
I think I would suggest that we change, that there's a term in that RFQ that we currently have with a 1-year non-fee replacement, and that is,
That's a hold up on.
that is an absolute, we won't possibly get a firm unless they price it so high that's going to do that. I've never heard of such a thing in 18 years that I was in personnel, I'd never heard of that. Because there's too many things that can happen in somebody's life. If there was a death in a family or any other thing that's beyond the control of that search firm, that's gonna shy everyone away from responding to that term.
The one search firm I did talk with, it was the one you referred, said that that was a term they could not meet, but they would offer a 6-month refund of our fee. So maybe if we do at least that, I don't know if that's still too prohibitive for other firms, but.
We may want to consider just receiving a standard proposal for search from some of these firms rather than just the full text of our RFQ. And then we can evaluate each of those as we like, because we haven't got anywhere in this full term that we've already let elapse.
So do we need Andy to rewrite that RFQ then?
I would amend my motion to receive a standard form proposal from these firms that we would evaluate rather than try to delay it for a rewrite of the RFQ.
I would agree with that.
I do.
So you were the one that seconded it. Do you accept that amendment?
I've worked at places where we've hired search firms and people have left within 2 months and there's never been like, oh, you need to do another search.
Yeah.
For free. You just hire them again to continue on. But hopefully you vet the firm based on their previous success as getting qualified people.
Yeah. And most firms are going to include anything like that with their customer list, et cetera, to make a submittal. So there's a motion.
In a second. We have a motion and a second. Don't think there's any further discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous.
So on the other issue, do you want that as an agenda item next week to discuss shared county engineer? And then the other question I have is, do we need to make a contact of any sort to the 2 applicants we have? Because at some point, we should let them know what the status is. Their applications have been in now for a couple of weeks. And we could discuss that more next week. I'm just wondering they're probably owed some kind of response.
Yeah.
I would send them a thank you letter for applying. And that, my own opinion was.
I've acknowledged that we've received their application, but I haven't done anything more about telling them a timeline. So do we just say that we're not interviewing at this time and we're looking for a search firm? Or do you want me to tell them their interviews may be still forthcoming, or what do we want to do with
I
that?
think that would probably be the right way to go about it, that we have not interviewed,
we put interviewing on hold at this time.
Okay, I'll at least give them that information.
Yeah, a search firm may look unfavorably on us continuing to recruit at the same time if they're going, if we do enter into a search firm agreement.
Right.
And maybe in that letter, it could be stated that we're not interviewing at this time because we have secured an interim engineer. That way,
Yeah.
it keeps open the possibility, but.
We'll be interviewing at a further date or something, or how would you word it to them to
We can let Ben do his magic there.
keep them in the, that we're.
I think
I'll
it's
make-
disingenuous.
I'll keep it necessarily vague. So that they know that they could still be called for an interview.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Surely had the valid point there.
You want me to
Which one?
repeat it?
Yeah.
I think it's
Yes.
disingenuous. I don't think that's very professional. I think we need to just speak truth. As hard as it can be, we need to speak truth and say thank you for applying, and you will not be receiving this job. We decided to take another route here to try to expand the
So-
search and find somebody with management experience.
So you're willing to drain the pool completely because you've never spoke to these people?
I'm willing to, yes, based on the applications they sent to us and the fact that neither one has management experience. And one of the biggest parts of this high-level job in Winneshiek County is to be a manager of many people. We need to take our time and do it right. And we need to explore the shared engineer option.
It's your personal opinion.
Which gives us time, and we can move forward with W14 and other projects. At this point, I'd really like to see us get moving on road and bridge projects that we have in our 5-year plan and not put them off another year because of this. That's why I'm suggesting it.
So do we need to just put this on the, leave them hanging for now and
Yeah.
talk about this on the agenda to continue discussion and act on, because there doesn't seem to be a consensus on how we do that.
Sounds good, Ben. Next, under the miscellaneous, discuss whether to hold public comment sessions on roads, bridges, and culverts. I'm opposed.
Yeah, I'd go with Nick's recommendation.
We already discussed it.
I personally think it would be great to hear on lots of other issues from the county and have just an open forum of not us responding, but let people express. Obviously, they can individually request to be on the agenda. Go invite people to do that. But given Nick's request and the sensitivity of things at the current moment, I think, yeah, we should not open up for that at this point in time.
Okay,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thanks, really.
Holy.